and welcome to another episode of the Sports Countdown podcast with Declan Hughes and me, Peter Lynch. Today we're talking all things FA Cup ahead of the final this Saturday between Leicester and Chelsea. So we'll discuss managers, key players, predictions, and also count down our top 3 FA Cup moments of all time. So a lot to look forward to. Firstly, we'll just give a shout out to Freelance Football Ops, a group who work tirelessly looking for paid football media jobs. So if you're looking right now, give them a shout either on LinkedIn or Twitter. So Declan, Chelsea Leicester. I thought it'd be best maybe to start with the road to the final. Just quick one. Any idea who had the toughest route to Wembley?
I mean, we kind of discussed this off air, so we did. I think we agreed that Leicester maybe had the tougher run-in of fixtures coming into it.
I would say so. So yeah, quickly running through it. Actually, they've had almost identical results. So every result, even scoreline, exactly the same, bar the quarterfinal. So Chelsea beat Morecambe 4-0, third round. Then Luton 3-1. That was actually Frank Lampard's last game in charge. So I think we might need to give him a bit of credit for getting into the final. I don't know. Then Barnsley 1-0, Sheffield United 2-0 in the quarterfinal, and then City 1-0 in the semis. So Leicester, as I say, exact same scorelines except for one: 4-0 at Stoke, 3-1 against Brentford, 1-0 against Brighton, 3-1 against Man United, and 1-0 against Southampton in the semis. So yeah, pretty tough start for Leicester, I would say, in the whole competition. Maybe Chelsea getting a bit of an easier run in, but it's in the final now, so we'll see what happens. I mentioned Frank. He's obviously moved on. He's been replaced by Thomas Tuchel from PSG. More on him later, but I think we should discuss our main man, Brendan Rodgers, first up. So yeah, you're the expert on him, obviously, as an ex-Celtic manager. So what do you think he can bring to this final for Leicester?
I mean, he's a top manager. I think we've already discussed that he's probably one of the top British managers in the game right now. He's stapled Leicester as a top 6 team, I'd say. Almost last season, get them the top 4, and then obviously they're pushing for it again this season. So he's got them being really consistent. They play great football. Although my thinking is this is a big game for him, the cup final, and if he gets them into the top 4, this could be a pivotal season for him personally, because I think he's looking to make maybe the next step up to a top team. I know Leicester are like finishing the top half, but I think he wants to move. He'll be looking to go back to like a Liverpool, even you'd say Spurs and Arsenal in terms of like financially, how impactful that could be. I think that'd be the challenge, that he wants to have a team that could win the league, win the EPL. So this season, if he wins the FA Cup, it only enhances that chances of happening. We know Spurs are looking for a manager right now, so that might be something that intrigues him, or that Spurs look at if he wins the cup. And then top 4, that could be the hit or miss thing. Like if he's a top 4 and Spurs don't get Europe, then he might wait it out. I don't know, but this is definitely a platform for him. He's made it from Celtic. He's won a lot of trophies, experience of it there, to go to Leicester. And if he can win a cup and get a top 4 finish, then he'll be looking to possibly move on to a top club. That's no offense to Leicester, but that's just my kind of thought process on it. But he brings a lot of the game, and he's done a phenomenal job at Leicester. So I think it would just kind of sum up his success there if he does win a trophy for them.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. You nailed it there. Like, I think he's worked wonders at that club. Some fantastic signings even of late. I pointed out a few. I think Wesley Fofana, Timothy Castagna, they come to mind. He's got them playing really great football. I would say it's a mix of youth and experience. So you have the likes of Evans, Albrighton, Vardy. They're all still firing. And then you have, I couldn't believe this list, but Soyuncu, Tielemans, Madison, Ndidi, and Iheanacho, they're all 24 years old, which is insane. Like, you would think they're a lot older. They've played a lot of football. That 3-4-1-2 system, it's just really well for them. It's working so well for them, and I think they all enjoy playing under it, and I think they all enjoy playing under Rodgers as well. He's worked really hard. For me, obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I think it would be great to see him lift the trophy as a former Liverpool manager. So, yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm rooting for
Do you
Brendan.
think? How would you compare this team to like the team that won the league at Leicester? Do you
I
think
mean,
it's
that team that won the league at Leicester is ridiculous, to be honest. Like I don't know how they did it. I think it was just an extraordinary season, and I'm so glad they did it. You know, beating the likes of City and Liverpool, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, all those big clubs. I don't even know what the odds were, like, insane.
Could
So
you
you
could
know
you
what?
imagine like Kante and Mahrez if they were still at Leicester and playing under Rodgers? They'd probably be by the team that he's got now as well. If you had those kind of players in there, that would be a team that would be closer to first place than a team near like the top four. I think they'd be a team competing if you had those kind of
Yeah,
players there working under him.
definitely. Yeah, but I mean, even though the names of those guys, I mean, they've brought in, like, the recruitment's obviously spot on because, and I think Rodgers has a lot to do with that. So they've sold Mahrez and Kante, but they've brought in like those players that I mentioned. So I think they're a great run club. They're doing really well in the league, as you mentioned. So I think the FA Cup final to top it off would just be, you know, for club and for the manager would be really well deserved. And I think people would be happy to see it, you know, considering, I mean, those two, Fofana and Castagna, I mentioned, I think they both signed for 50 million, you know, combined, which isn't a lot of money in this day and age because you like think of the players that Chelsea have signed,
Yep.
Werner and Havertz. I mean, they cost, I don't know, maybe 100 million between the two of them. So a lot of money, big difference there.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, moving on to Chelsea, they obviously have Thomas Tuchel. You know, to say Rodgers has been working wonders, I think it's fair to say that Tuchel's been doing that as well with Chelsea. So, you know, how do you assess him so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's come in when they come in January. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
January came in a Chelsea team that was underperforming drastically under Frank Lampard with the players that he had signed. I think everybody was expecting kind of big things from Chelsea, but it just didn't happen this season. But he's come in, he's only been there 3-4 months, and he's got them to an FA Cup final, a Champions League final,
Yeah.
and possibly a top four finish. So I think he's improved the form of the whole team. The whole team effectively, everybody's just, you can see the improvement under him compared to what they were under Lampard. He's got them really solid defensively. He's got that sort. I think that was a real issue for Chelsea was the fact
Yeah.
that they leaked a lot of goals, you know. So he sorted that out, and they've got a really like potent attack. Like there's so many players in there that are dangerous. They're really good on the counter attack. I know Werner gets a lot of criticism for not scoring, but I really rate him. I've watched Chelsea the last few weeks and his movement and the way that he makes the runs and frees up space for the likes of Pulisic and like Mason Mount and stuff's really important. So although he's not scoring goals, I think he is playing better for the team. So I think Tuchel kind of got that out of him. And yeah, it's clear to see that in such a short space of time that he's worked wonders there. But it is Chelsea, so it wouldn't surprise me if this time next season, if he loses a couple of games, somebody else will be there.
Nah, surely not. I mean, he's had such a great start, and as you said, like Werner especially and Havertz, I think I'd say the nationality helps there. Obviously, they're all German, so maybe they communicate with each other. He's definitely got the best out of those two. And Werner, as you say, like he's not scoring many goals. Maybe it's probably a confidence thing.
Yep.
A lot of players suffer the same thing, but you know, if he's making those runs and you know that movement, and it's his first season in England, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. So
Yep.
it takes a bit of time to adapt. You know, some of the world's best strikers have struggled. Like Falcao at Man United comes to mind, like completely blew it there. A lot of other strikers, you know, couldn't handle it, and at this stage, so I think he's got plenty of time to make it right.
No, I think both managers, as like we've said, have made a visible impact on both clubs. So two top managers going against two really good teams in the final. It should be a good watch, I think, in my opinion. But like
Now
getting
they're
up,
both, I mean, they're both top. Sorry, they're both like top tacticians. You know what I mean? Like I said, Leicester formation. It's like normally 3-4-1-2.
mm-hmm.
Tuchel actually goes for 3-4-2-1 most of the time. So it's really really similar. He just has, you know, Werner up top. Whereas Leicester have, you know, lately it's Vardy and Iheanacho. So it's going to be a really interesting battle between the two, like tactically wise. So that, yeah, definitely it's going to be a good watch.
No, definitely, I agree with you. So getting into it then, have you got some players on both sides that you think we should look out for in the cup final Saturday?
Yeah, Mason Mount is the first one that comes to mind for me. really young guy. Lampard, I think, is kind of famous now, the likes of Twitter, for giving him his shot in football, and they obviously got on really well. But he was really good back then under Lampard, but I think he's even improved even more now. His goals and assists, I think he has 9 goals, 7 assists, or something. He's near the top of Chelsea's, combined goals and assists this season in all competitions, and that's speaks volumes for a midfielder, especially someone so young. Um, Big game player as well, like stepping up in the Champions League and massive Premier League games. So I think he can be key. Um, Another one who stood up recently, but always has done, is N'Golo Kante. I think he was man of the match in those 2 Champions League semi-finals against Madrid. There was a time when he wasn't playing for Chelsea for whatever reason. I don't know how or why. I think maybe Jorginho was picked ahead of him, which is crazy because I think the whole footballing world knows how much talent he has and what he brings to that midfield. Tireless, non-stop work on and off the ball. So he's key, but very, very recently, I think he might have picked up an Achilles injury, I've been reading. So he may miss out tomorrow, which it's going to be interesting to see. And then a final one is Thiago Silva. You mentioned that defense sharpening up at the back for Chelsea. I think he's the main man there. He's a leader. Obviously, so much experience, the likes of PSG, AC Milan, and Brazil, of course. Yep. I think he inspires those around him, makes them a lot better players, especially the younger guys. And they've been so solid, as you say. I think only City have conceded fewer goals in the league this season than Chelsea. So, he's been key to that. And then, Mendy also key, obviously, in goals. But I think Kepa's actually been getting the nod in the cup. So I think it will be actually Kepa tomorrow. So that'll be an interesting one.
I might need to change my prediction then when they get to that. Right. For Chelsea, I said Mason Mount, the same as you. I think he's taken his game to the next level under Tuchel. Just kind of the way you were saying, like how important he is in creating chances, assists. He's been scoring a lot of goals. You mentioned the Madrid game, and for all the talent in that midfield, he's been like a mainstay in there. With all that, you mentioned like Havertz in there. There's a lot of talent that Chelsea could play from midfield, but he's been in there. Tuchel trusts him, so he's been really creative and a really impressive player. And I think he might be with a shout to possibly start for England in the Euros in the summer if he keeps his form up, especially if he gets a Champions League winners medal and a cup winner, a FA Cup as well. So he's been a really important player. I also mentioned Pulisic, as I like to mention, an American player every time we come on a pod. I think he's just so good on the counter attack. Like he's just so quick, he's direct, and he's got the ability to score in big occasions. Again, with a goal against Real Madrid and an assist as well. So just a quick mention to him. There was the Chelsea players. Leicester, it's hard to look past Vardy. He's just the main man, ain't he? He's got the most goals and the most assists for Leicester this season. And if they get a half chance, he's probably going to take it. And then I also said Yuri Tielemans. I think he's a really, I love just watching him. He's a great player. He just dictates the midfield kind of for Leicester. But he's a little bit of everything, box to box, I'd say. He can tackle, he'll get stuck in, but then he can also he's got a great range of passing, and he's got a goal in him as well. So for Leicester, that's my 2 kind of important players.
Yeah, they will be key, I think. I'm a huge fan of Vardy, obviously. But I think Iheanacho, for me, is the man in form at the minute. So he's banging in the goals, left, right, and centre, headers, volleys, off the deck, you name it. So he's, obviously full of confidence. I think he's going to be key. Another one you say you like to mention, Pulisic. I like to mention Johnny Evans at the back. Obviously a Northern Ireland man. I think he's been injured the past few games, and they've been slipping in a few sloppy goals. 2 at Newcastle, 1 against United. So yeah, he's like Thiago Silva. He's a leader at the back, helping others around him. Solid, really composed on the ball. He's really calm, collective, and I think United could definitely be using with a man like him at the minute with their defense. But I'll say no more. But what I would say is, like, I think we talked about the stars of Chelsea. I'd say Leicester are more like team oriented. They're more of they have like team players.
Yep.
rather than individual stars. So yeah, those are my guys.
So then you want to give a prediction then for the weekend?
You did mention Kepa there. You might have to change yours. But nah, I'm not the best at predicting scores, so I might have to avoid that one. But I think Chelsea will just come out on top. I think they've been too strong lately. Um, it'll be tight, of course, and it's a cup. Obviously, as they say, anything can happen. Magic of the cup and all that. So I would like to see Leicester win it. But for me, Chelsea are too strong at the minute. I know they lost. They lost recently to Arsenal, and Leicester actually beat United. So I think Leicester will be more confident. But in those games, actually, it was United who rested most of their players for that Liverpool game, and then Chelsea made 7 changes from their previous game against City. So you can't really look too much into that one. But yeah, for me, it's going to be a Chelsea win. Unfortunately,
I made a prediction. I said 3-1 Chelsea. I said that they're a team in great form. They're really high on confidence, and as we mentioned, these top players that they have, these world class players, they've been proving their worth lately. So I think that might be too much for Leicester to handle. But now you've threw in the Kepa thing, and I'm thinking about changing it. But I don't know. I'll say three. I will say 3-1. 3-1 Chelsea. That's my shout. But I'm kind of with you. I'd kind of like to see Leicester possibly win the cup as well. So
yeah. To be fair to Kepa, I think he's improved a bit, but he's still. I mean, for me, he's still a bit. He's got an error in there.
Yeah, but then you mentioned the Iheanacho and Vardy are deadly up front, so I would. It depends who Chelsea playing at the back for me. Like we mentioned, Silva. You've got is Christensen's been playing as well, right? Rudiger. Like none of these guys are blessed with great pace, whereas those two are really quick. So that might be pivotal for me. But they have been playing Kurt Zuma, so I think Zuma will play because he's pacey, and I think they'll try and rely on him to keep up with Vardy, like playing on the last man. Like they'll try and nullify that through him. So just kind of depends who's playing for me. Or Azpilicueta's been playing centre back or right back as well. So it's a real. He's probably a key player as well. Should I mentioned him? He's been fantastic lately, Azpilicueta. So a shout out to him.
They've been so solid at the back, and I mean, what I would say is I think Chelsea have been in, a lot of the previous FA Cup finals. Maybe something like 4 of the last 5 years, or something as crazy as that. So they're obviously got that experience.
Did they lose they lost last year to Arsenal, right?
Yeah, that was Arsenal beat them last year.
Because Pulisic scored, I think, as well. Actually, I think I remember that now. He scored for Chelsea. So I'll predict him to score again. 3-1 Chelsea, Pulisic hat-trick.
I'll be one of those guys and say 2-1 Chelsea.
2-1. Oh, there you go. I like it.
Football score in a match.
Love it. Right, well, we'll get to our countdown this week, right? So FA Cup's full of magic moments. The unpredictable can happen. So we're going to give our top 3 FA Cup moments, just personal stuff. It doesn't need to be a goal. It can be just anything that's happened. So what we're going to do, Pete, is we'll go 3, 2, 1, but we'll both give our 3. You'll go first, then I'll go, and we'll count our way down to the 1. So number 3 for you.
I mean, starting off, I think there can only be one, the best moment ever. So that's, I'm sorry, I'm not wrong in this one. The best FA Cup ever, like in the final. So I'll leave it to my number 1. But number 3 is Man United against Leeds, 3rd round, 2010. Big long ball from Johnny Howson, and Jermaine Beckford latched onto it and put it past, I think it might have been Amos in the United goal. But yeah, unbelievable moment as a Liverpool fan, seeing United lose, seeing Fergie and the Old Trafford, absolutely silenced. Leeds were in League One at the time, 42 league places between them. So that was just great. Obviously a lot of United fans were my mates growing up. So to see them get knocked out by Leeds, and United weren't, I think it was the first time Fergie ever got knocked out in his whole time in the 3rd round against United, for United, and maybe against lower league opposition as well. So yeah, that was a good moment, definitely. How about you?
I went with a moment, and I went with the Pardew shuffle. Remember when Crystal Palace beat Man United, they scored with like 12 minutes left, and then he done that. What is it? He does. He goes like.
That's exactly it.
It's the maddest thing I've ever seen. It was the weirdest celebration. But then the beauty of it is Man U equalised like 3 minutes later. I think Juan Mata scored, and then your boy Jesse Lingard scored in extra time, and Man U won that final. But I just thought that was hilarious. Premature celebrations, never do them. So that's my 3.
Legend.
we'll move on to 2. What you got?
That could be the best one, to be fair. But nah, I mean, it would be wrong to mention United as a Liverpool fan. So number 2 is for me the 2001 final, Millennium Stadium, Liverpool 2, Arsenal 1. I think I was just about old enough to remember 2 late goals from Michael Owen. And, just like the names on that, like Gerrard, Danny Murphy, Didi Hamann, Robbie Fowler, Gary McAllister, playing against the likes of Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires, Tony Adams, David Seaman, the list goes on. So yeah, we left it late, but yeah, that was definitely a great moment beating Arsenal.
Nice. I went with Louis Saha scoring the fastest goal in FA Cup history, final history. Everton v Chelsea, I think he scored after 26 minutes. But then I watched it before we came on, and it was a class goal as well. Ball gets whipped in. I think Leighton Baines whips it in, and he takes it on the half volley on his left foot, and he just strikes it right into the corner. So that was my number 2. But I'd like to give Louis Saha a shout out for missing that penalty for Man United against Celtic when Arthur Boric saved it and Nakamura scored and we won 1-0. So Saha, a legend it is. Right, Pete. Number 1, I don't even think we need. I think everybody will guess what your number 1's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the best ever moment in FA Cup history. There's been a lot of magic moments, but it's the 2006 final, the Gerrard final, as it's called. So I think that says it all. If you have a final named after a player, I mean, how much better can it get? So again, I think it was in Millennium Stadium. Djibril Cissé scored a nice opener for Liverpool. I think we were maybe 2-1 we were losing. I'm not too sure. Carragher scored an OG, I remember, and Paul Konchesky, who somehow ended up at Liverpool at one stage. I don't know how, but he scored an absolute rocket, I'm pretty sure. And then Stevie G smashed one in, absolute rocket. And then at maybe 93 minutes, the ball just fell to him and maybe 30 yards out. And, he does what he does best and absolutely smashed it home. And it was just an unbelievable moment. And then we went on to win on penalties. So yeah, absolutely amazing moment. And I mean, just for Gerrard, how many times he did that for Liverpool is just, countless. He was an absolute legend for Liverpool. He's still going at Rangers, which is great to see. But, he did it against Olympiacos in the Champions League. Did it in Istanbul in the final, obviously. He did it actually in Napoli in the Europa League. I was there at Anfield. We had pretty much a reserve team out. We were losing 1-0. Lavezzi scored for Napoli. We brought Gerrard on at halftime and he scored a hat-trick. Just as you do, only absolutely legendary players can do that. So yeah, shout out to Stevie, and that has to be the best FA Cup moment of all time. But I'm willing to listen to what you have to say.
So my number 1, and one that I remember, is the 2013 final, the Ben Watson final.
Of course.
So Wigan won, Man City now. It is just the Ben Watson final, isn't it? What a beautiful header he scored. I remember watching it, and obviously Man City are star-studded at the time. They'd won the league the season before, I think, under Mancini. And then it's Sean Maloney. Give him a shout out, your boy. Sean Maloney. Now, and then Roberto Martinez was the manager. Now they're the duo now.
They're here in Belgium. I'm waiting to walk in them someday.
But yeah, that cross, and then just that beautiful ginger head of Ben Watson, just bullets that right into the top corner. It was a phenomenal header. First major honour for Wigan. I think they went down that season though, didn't they?
They did.
They went down.
He's a big Wigan man, so he won't be too happy hearing this. But yeah, they did. I don't think that ever happened before. A team actually went down after the FA Cup, but
I think that, and it cost Mancini his job. I think he got fired after that, and then Pellegrini came in. But I just remember watching it and like the scenes at the end as well. And everybody loves an underdog story in these cup games. So that was probably the most memorable cup final for me.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And actually, I think that was obviously they got relegated. Like I think it was 3 days later or something.
Yeah, man, for that tournament on this podcast.
That was a pleasure. It's a great competition, obviously. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's happening, and fingers crossed for wee Brendan and for Leicester tomorrow.
Yep, fingers crossed. Anyway, make sure that you all follow us on our social media accounts, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you for listening.